Good evening and welcome to the Buffalo City Council Candidate Forum. We are welcoming tonight 7 candidates, and we have 4 questions that we will be asking of these candidates, and in an order that they're aware of. We're going to keep this to 1 hour, and the candidates know that there's time limits with each question. And we're just going to dive right in. Each candidate will get 2 minutes to do a self-introduction. And with our random drawing, this will be the order. The first candidate to do that will be Miss Linda Kiddock. Go ahead, Linda.
Okay, hello, my name is Linda Kiddock, and I'm 61 years old. I have lived in Buffalo for 24 years, and I've seen businesses come and go through the years. Other businesses and housing development was just starting to prosper. Today, Buffalo is bigger and a better community. This will be my 6th year working for the Buffalo Hanover School District as a paraprofessional. I love working with special needs students. I ride on the school bus to make sure each and every student stays healthy and safe while transporting them to and from school. The number one most qualification for this job is to still listen and talk to people. As a council member, I was elected to do my very best as an elected official to serve as a voice for our community. I have chosen to run for re-election to still make a difference for our community. And that's all I have for right now.
Thank you, Linda. Next, Mr. Downer. Unmute yourself, Steve.
Thank you, Sue, and thanks for moderating, and to the city for putting this on, and to the other candidates for throwing their hat into the ring. I'm Steve Downer. I've served 2 terms, 2 stints on the council from 2008 to 2014, and again from 2016 to the present. I've got a Steve Downer for City Council Facebook page, so you can see a lot of the bio stuff there. There've been a lot of surprises this year. A lot of them have been unwelcome. I'm a proven person, not only in how I voted on things, but how I've conducted my business. So I think that's a good thing heading into this election. In 2008, I said that it's easy to tear things down, but it's a lot harder to build them up. And I'm here to build things up. And I've done that ever since. The council, to some extent, you deal with the hand you're dealt. And my approach here has always been to leave the next people on the council with a better hand than I've been dealt. That's always debatable, but that's the goal. I've also thought about what you can promise people, and you really can't promise them very much. But what I can promise is to listen, to work with others to find good solutions to the problems and issues we face and are going to face, and to be a good steward of our limited resources. So everything we do is with other people's money. I'm aware of that, and we need to use it wisely. So the bio stuff's on the website. I've been married for 38 years, been here for 32 years, and I hope for your support when you go to vote. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Next, Mr. Colkind.
All right. Hi, I'm Eric Colkind. I'm running for City Council because I believe I have the best local experience and knowledge of Buffalo that can be utilized on City Council. I'm currently on the Airport Advisory Board and the Wild Marsh Advisory Board. I was also an invitee to recent city financial planning workshops. Years ago, I was told that if I wanted to be involved in city matters, to join an advisory board, and that was absolutely correct. I joined 2. These boards helped me gain the experience needed to help make the next step up to City Council. I'm hoping to make the next step up to City Council with the support and encouragement of many residents, friends, and most importantly, my wife Diane and 2 daughters, Lucy and Jenna, that are in 1st and 3rd grade at Parkside. The combination of my advisory roles and my family involvement in pretty much all aspects of Buffalo has allowed me to see what Buffalo is and the potential for what it could be. I look forward to what the future holds for Buffalo and very much hope to be a part of it on Buffalo City Council.
Thank you. Next, Mr. O'Rourke. Unmute yourself, please. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for inviting me to this forum, and I especially want to thank Steve and Linda for their service to the city. My name is Nick. I'm originally from Delano. I moved to Buffalo as soon as I became an adult. After 9/11, I immediately joined the military, served in Iraq, did 2 campaigns, came back to Buffalo and resettled. From there, I worked in electrical and low voltage industry until I started my own company. And in 2016, I decided to dedicate my life to community and social service. So I gave my company to my brother, and I went to school to study social sciences. I currently am in school trying to be a child protection worker. I live at home with my wife, my 4 children, and my St. Bernard named Josh.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Wakefield.
Thanks, Sue. And I'd like to thank all of the other candidates for putting yourself out there, because I know that this is a stretch for a lot of people from a comfort standpoint. But my name is Jameson Wakefield. My wife Stacia and I have made Buffalo our home for about 16 years. We have 3 boys. 2 are currently at Iowa State in the engineering program. Our youngest is a sophomore this year in high school. With 3 boys, I have spent a lot of time involved in the community over the years, whether it's youth sports, scouting, church, whatever. And I've learned a lot about Buffalo. It's a very diverse community, but it's really, it's unique that it's such a growing community with so many amenities, yet it still has that small town feel. And that's not an easy thing to keep and hold on to. And so one of the things that sparked my thought about running for city council is simply to make sure that we hold on to that. You want the city to grow in a smart way and in a sustainable way, but you don't want to lose that small town feel. Over the years also, I've had a lot of experience working with the city council, with the city staff. I've been on the city planning commission since 2015. I've had, the great pleasure of digging through zoning ordinances in order to update them and modernize them for where the city's at versus where it was 10 years ago, the last time they were looked at. I've had opportunities too around some really difficult conversations or challenging conversations for the city, in particular around downtown, the Havenwood and ALO apartments. So that has really given me a lot of good background. So I'm hoping to bring that to the city council next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Patrick.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having us all tonight. My name is Jeremiah Patrick. I'm an electrical engineer. I've done a lot of different technical things, and I'd really like to help bring that experience. I've lived in a number of different places, and in all the different places I've lived, there is no place quite like Buffalo, I've found. The fact that it's such a small piece of small town Minnesota, it really is a special thing. There's no place that really quite feels like that, especially with having all the opportunity nearby. The highways that run by us, the businesses we have, and the wonderful schools that we have right around us. I'm an Eagle Scout. I'm part of the Buffalo Lions, and I really would like to dedicate myself to being able to represent the people of Buffalo and making sure that small town that I moved out here for at least retains that field, while at the same time not allowing it to stagnate and letting it grow with times.
Thank you. And finally, Ms. Vars.
Thank you, Sue. My name is Ann Vars. Good evening. I'm pleased to have this opportunity to share my views with the Buffalo voters. While I am new to elective politics, I'm not new to Buffalo. For over 19 years, my husband, Keith, and I have lived and raised our 2 children in the Trappers Pond neighborhood, enjoying the benefits of the safe and affordable community and Buffalo's great schools. My professional background consists of 28 years as a legal administrative assistant. As a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, I have to appreciate the complexity of the issues involved in municipal government decision-making. The knowledge I have acquired on the commission and my years of legal experience are qualifications that will serve me well in studying relevant background materials, mastering the details and participating in deliberations needed to reach informed decisions. Through my involvement in local civic activities and on the commission, I have also come to appreciate the diversity of opinions in the community on any given issue. I understand the value of listening carefully to our citizens and looking for ways to propose common ground solutions. That value will guide me on the city council. And I also wanted to thank all the candidates who put their names out there tonight and for showing interest in our city leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, on to our questions, and we will start with Ms. Kiddock, and here is question number 1. If elected, or if you continue your reign, what 3 steps would you take to put our city on a firmer financial footing?
Oh, let's see. Number 1 is to keep the taxes down in our community. I know that we have to deal with the levies and that. The issues is we're in a financial debt. The city is. We're trying our best to get out of the financial debt, but it might be several years before we do that. So I'm going to try in the next 4 years to keep the debt, or I should say, the taxes down for the city. Other than that, I'm looking at in the next 4 years, probably everybody in town, I know that they were talking about a community center. It does take money, and we are talking about, while we're working on that, the planning stage, approximately 5 years we're looking at to build a community center. And also with the school, safe schools meetings and that, they're also talking about they would like to have a youth center in Buffalo too for the kids that basically get them off the street. In other words, there is some of them that are having issues and that they are walking around the streets and that, but there's no theater to actually go to, and there is nothing really going on for the kids in town, and I would like to deal with those type of issues.
Thank you. Thank you. Same question, Mr. Downer. If you're elected for another term, what 3 steps would you take to put our city on a firmer financial footing?
Well, there's 3, maybe 3.5 here. So the city has commissioned a financial management plan, and a big part of this plan is shifting somewhat from debt to pay upfront for things. The amount of the debt levy dedicated to simply retiring debt has grown to the point where we need to move away from that. Also in April, the council commissioned a class cost of service rate study for the electric rates. So rather than just trying to figure out how much money you need to continue to operate, we're going to figure out how much it costs to actually serve the various classes of electric customers. And those 2 things are going to go hand in hand. So there's that. The transitioning from debt to paying up front is going to be a big trick to pull off. It's going to have to happen over a number of years. And the other thing, really, I don't know if this is going to be one of the questions, but we're going to have to come to grips with Wild Marsh. Since I've been on the council, the idea has been we need to pay the debt, so we might as well keep it a golf course and operate it. But we haven't been turning a profit even on the operating costs. So I think one thing we're going to have to do, and the auditor flagged this, is that we've been transferring money from other funds to Wild Marsh, and that's going to have to stop. If we're going to subsidize it, it's going to have to be through the levy, through taxes, and we're going to have to lay the numbers out there and see where we go with that.
Thank you. Mr. Colkind, if elected, what 3 steps would you take to put the city on a firmer financial footing?
Like the previous candidate said, you can tell we were all at the same financial planning meeting. The debt is a very real issue for the city for the next 4+ years coming before it really starts decreasing. So figuring out how to manage that, how to deal with it, potentially buy it down will be a very large hurdle to come across. Another thing I've been running on is asking for the city to reinvest in itself instead of worrying about expanding new facilities, just like we've all done, or a lot of done during the pandemic. I think we've kind of lost touch, or people are remembering that they need to take care of their own house, update it. I think the city is a perfect example of that too. There's plenty of things that have starting to look tired, out of date. Reinvest in itself to try and attract more people, new residents, out-of-towners to come here for a day. And then another one, like Mr. Downer said, another thing I've been running on a lot is Wild Marsh feasibility. I know it can be done. It's going to take a lot of work, but the potential there is huge for what it can do. However, with COVID-19, golf in the state has taken off a ton. Pretty much if you have a golf course this year, you're making money. And happy to report that as of right now on the season, the Marsh is in the red for a little over 6 figures. So things are looking good there for this year, but pandemics don't always last. So we need to plan for the future for that when things settle back down.
Thank you. Mr. O'Rourke, if elected, what 3 steps would you take to put the city on firmer financial footing?
I agree with Mr. Donner that it's time to assess where we are with Wild Marsh, and we're gonna have to address that issue that it's just not making money, and we're hemorrhaging money at that location. I would propose that we get rid of it or we turn it into something else the city wants. Another thing is we need to draw more new residents through our education. We need to have better education than all of our neighbors. We need to invest in our education. People will come here for education. When people come here, businesses come here. When businesses come here, the economy grows, everybody gets more money. But as a third thing, I want to talk more about the financials of the people and the utility costs. They need to be reassessed. We pay a lot more than people right outside of the city limits. And I think we need to readdress that, and we need to save the people who live in Buffalo some money. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wakefield, if elected, what 3 steps would you take to put the city on better financial footing?
I'm just going to beat on that horse a little longer. I think Wild Marsh is something that really we have to come to grips with if we're going to do anything else broader. But there are some things that, we can do with Wild Marsh. It's short of selling it or anything too dramatic like that, because you do have homeowners around there too, and you have other considerations. But we've had last year during a city council planning commission workshop, some suggestions about things we could do with that. And one of them is to actually reconfigure it and put housing in some sections or along some sections of it and shorten the course a little bit, which is a trend in golf now. And Eric mentioned it, people are golfing right now during the pandemic. So that's some things to think about that we could do with the golf course to generate new revenue and lower the costs of running the golf course. The other thing, the electrical issue, the cost of electrical utilities in the city is one of the things I hear from everybody when I'm going door to door. And I know that right now we're doing some revenue sharing between that and the golf course and some of the other things. But we do really seriously have to look at that as leaning on it as a source of revenue versus providing a service to the community. The third thing I think is the downtown. Everybody so far has mentioned bringing people in, bringing business in. On the stakeholder downtown development focus group, we've been talking about how can we freshen up the downtown and make it a destination point, not just for residents, but turn it into a community for new residents and for people coming to Buffalo. And I think that's a big opportunity for us to draw in new business, draw in new residents, and just refresh that and bring in additional tax revenue.
Great, thank you. Mr. Patrick, if elected, what 3 steps would you take to put the city on firmer financial footing?
So the first thing I would do is I would start taking a look at how we can invest in local businesses. Talking to a couple of business owners, they've expressed a great deal of concern, especially this year with how the pandemic has really affected them. And it is our local businesses that really provide a great deal of taxes for us. I would also take a look at how we can plan to help more of them than just in downtown, because downtown, while it is very important, the majority of business we have in Buffalo is outside of downtown, and a great deal of planning has been done there. We should take that same kind of care and express it in the rest of Buffalo. And to that, my second point would be look at what additional space that we have and how we can use that to attract additional businesses to Buffalo. If that's the same way as Nick was saying through education, or if there's something else we can do to incentivize them, we bring in businesses, we bring in people will follow the jobs, and that way we'll grow ourselves. And then finally, it comes time to really take a look at what expenses the city has. Everybody has the same thing on their minds, Wild Marsh and the other expenses that the city has. It's time to really take a long, hard look at what we've got. And at the end of the day, I would come down to what do we have and ask the citizens for their input, what really is important for all the things that we have. If it's a referendum or if there's another way to solicit input, that would be how I would look at to determine if there's anything that can be cut.
Thank you. And finally, Ms. Vars, if elected, what 3 steps would you take to put the city on firmer financial footing?
I would have to say budget management is always something that the council will have to navigate and deal with. We also have to deal with the repercussions of the pandemic. Obviously, that's still going on, and the impact that's going to have on the revenue of the city. In a good year, good fiscal stewardship should also be paramount to any decisions we are making. Fiscal discipline should continue to be our primary goal as we are spending taxpayer money. Another idea, I guess, is the analysis of the utilities is, there's something that is being looked at right now. And I know that's an important issue to a lot of Buffalo citizens. The golf course, the ice arena are also financial issues we are facing that need to be dealt with in 2021. And also the debt problems remain, and we'll be working on those for the next 4 or 5 years to try to buy down that debt. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have any more to say, Ann? We were a little premature in our...
No, you're fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
I was giving you the peace sign a little too early. All right, question number 2 is going to go to Mr. Colkind first. And here it is. If someone came to you with a proposal to build a new piece of public infrastructure in our cities, such as a road or a bridge, how would you evaluate whether that project was worth implementing? Oh.
Can it be a building?
Can it be a building? Can it be a building?
A city building?
Public infrastructure, I would say, why not?
First and foremost, I think what's forgotten about a lot is the community center that's downtown. I do a little Meals on Wheels work. I'd always heard about it, never been in there, but Meals on Wheels is based out of there. And when you walk in there, go down the stairs, and it's almost shocking at what it is or what our seniors have for Buffalo. It's a very, very hot topic. A big thing that I would absolutely do is whether you remodel the building, renovate it, raise it, do a new one, even on the same spot, do something, don't call it a community center anymore, probably call it a senior center, or maybe come up with a more creative name, but that's pretty much what it is, because all of your seniors, or the majority of seniors in this town, are based in the vicinity of the downtown area. And as we have started building more senior apartments, it's a huge thing that's missing from the city that we're not taking advantage of for our seniors.
Thank you. Mr. O'Rourke, same question. If somebody came to you with a proposal to build a new piece of public infrastructure, how would you evaluate whether that was worth implementing?
First of all, I take the advice of the Planning Commission, but we'd have to evaluate if it's even needed, like how important it is. And if it is needed, what are the costs short term and what are the costs long term. What would the impact be on local businesses and local residences, and what would the environmental impact be? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wakefield, same question. Somebody came to you with a proposal to build a new piece of public infrastructure in Buffalo. How would you evaluate whether the project was worth implementing?
Well, first of all, the purpose of the building or the road, the bridge, the whatever. Is it benefiting the community as a whole? Is it benefiting a certain subset? And I think two things that are really important. Obviously, everybody thinks about the cost of building. But depending on what that piece of infrastructure is, there's also the cost of operating. And that is how you get into situations, we've been talking about the golf course, we've been talking about, somebody mentioned the civic arena. Infrastructure comes with a cost to maintain it too. And I think in the overall scheme of an ongoing budget and balancing an ongoing budget and paying for it, bonding to build versus continuing to tax to service are two different things that have to be heavily weighed whether or not that's a valuable project to move forward with.
Thank you. Mr. Patrick, same question. If somebody came to you with a proposal to build a new piece of public infrastructure, how would you evaluate the project worth implementing?
Well, I like to look out for at least 5-10 years for whatever piece of infrastructure it is. And the question I would have to start is what kind of return are we going to get? If it's a road, if it's a bridge, if it's a building, what kind of service or benefit does it get to our citizens, and will it generate revenue? The second thing I would take a look at is if we're going to add this to our repertoire of other things that we maintain, how much is it going to cost? Will we have to raise additional taxes in the long run? And should something go wrong, will we be able to recover from making a bad investment? I mean, not everything is 100% successful, and sometimes things go wrong. So that's what I would primarily do.
Thank you. Ms. Vars, same question. If someone came to you with a proposal to build a new piece of public infrastructure, how would you evaluate whether that project was worth implementing?
Well, infrastructure plays an important role, but I guess you're going to have to ask, is it needed? What are the long-term costs to the city and to the taxpayers? Infrastructure, as we know, requires maintenance and operation costs. So infrastructure can have a very positive impact on our community as a whole, also via education and health-wise. So I guess that's my response. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, Ms. Kiddock. If someone came to you with a proposal to build a new piece of public infrastructure, how would you evaluate whether it was worth implementing?
Well, first of all, I would like to start on the community center. I know that one of the candidates did bring up the community center. I was on the community center for 3 years, and we were talking about a future center for quite a while. So the current community center, I know it's aging, and everybody knows that. So what we have to do now, as for a current community center, we do have to have Meals on Wheels to go out by the community center where Sue is doing this right now. She's got volunteers coming in to work with her in that to distribute the meals. Okay, I know the colors were changed. I haven't been on the community center lately in that. For the last 3 years, we were talking about trying to make it a little more beautiful. And yes, the majority of them are seniors, but the fact is it is a community center. It is open for everybody. They do have pool tables down there. So I thought I'd just say that there is activities for the senior. I'm also a senior too, but I'm a young senior, and I would like to see activities. I would like to see that in our new community center, but with financial thing that's going on in the city right now that we're in quite a bit debt, it might take 5 years before we even decide on where and when and how we're going to build a new community center. But I know, yes, it is aging, and I do know what's going on there at the center itself. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Downer, do you need me to repeat the question?
No, I think I got it. Couple thoughts. One is the public infrastructure is there to support residents people so they can live and businesses so they can do business. So you need to look at the possibilities. Is this development going to pan out? How long is it going to take? You don't want to strand a large investment for a long time, because that's going to rest on the taxpayers and have some adverse consequences. But generally, you need to invest to grow, and the city's looking at that now with Dague and Baker Avenues, where new developments require roads to be upgraded, and it's expensive. The community centers come up a couple times, and it is outdated at best. My mom wouldn't be able to get in there, so it needs to be improved. How do you do that? The thing I've been waiting to see is a good plan that I think people can get behind. When I was an officer on the Youth Hockey Association board, BYHA partnered with the Hanover Athletic Association and the school district and the city to build a newer ice rink. Everybody contributed, everybody chipped in, and the city helped make it happen. And I think that's the type of effort that's going to have to come together for the community center. I think that's basically it. There are communities where a rich person comes in and donates a bunch of money and a community center gets built. I don't know if that's going to happen here. If that were to happen, I would not be so concerned about the operating costs, but we could float a bond and build something, but you got to pay for it going forward, and that's an issue.
Thank you. Next question, Mr. Wakefield. What style of elected leadership does the city need right now?
Style of elected leadership does the city need right now? I think the city right now needs some practical leadership. We've been talking about the debt burden and working our way out of it over the next 4 to 5 years. We've been talking about operating some of the city functions in the red, which, we have a lot of opportunity to slow down, look at where we're going, plan. And I will say this, the city and the city council have been doing that. Like I said, the downtown development stakeholders meetings that we've been part of for about a year now, the review of the comprehensive development plan, those are all vital things to make sure that as we move forward, we have a plan and we work that plan. But we do need some practical leadership to say, when is it something that we don't need? It's a nice to have, it would be great, but we can't do that right now. And I think to some extent, we might lack a little bit of that, and we're not necessarily sticking to the comprehensive plan the way that we should be.
Thank you. Mr. Patrick, what style of elected leadership do you feel the city needs right now?
Well, right now, I feel that it needs far-viewing and fiscally conservative leadership. Right now, we're in a bit of an economic downturn thanks to pandemic, and realistically speaking, we are in the red. So right now, we need to really sit down, take a look, ask ourselves what's important, and really plan ourselves out for the next 10 to 20 years. We need to be able to make good investments and really, if we have to make a hard cut or have to make a hard decision, determine what that would be and then communicate it clearly.
Thank you. Ms. Vars, what style of elected leadership do you feel the city needs right now?
Well, Wright County is one of the fastest growing communities right now, and we have a lot of people moving out here. I think what we need is good leadership. We need to navigate and deal with budget items. We need to deal with the pandemic, and all of the impacts that is going to bring forward to us. I just think if we can bring some good fiscal stewardship to the city and watch what we spend on the budgets, and just really watch what kind of decisions we are making and have good fiscal discipline to continue for our primary goal.
Thank you. Ms. Kiddock, what style of elected leadership does the city need right now, in your opinion? That's you, Linda.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear my name. I'm sorry. Let's see. The style, I think right now, we do have good leadership in our council, including the mayor. I do believe that we should continue with that. It all depends on the voters, but we are trying our best to balance the budget each and every year. And within the coming 4 to 5 years, everybody's talking about, yes, we are in debt in that we may not get out of debt within the 5-year period. It all depends on how the economy is gonna come out. If it's on a downturn more, I think we are in a recession. I know it's election year. They don't want to say that it's actually we are in a recession. Actually, I think we are in that. I'm old enough to know that I've been in recessions before in that, and it's just that the rates are way down, so on and so forth, and that we are trying to refinance our levies to balance the budget, trying to pay off the old ones, and trying not to come out with the new ones in that to navigate with the 2021 budget. But sometimes there is issues like water, sewer. It might come out that we might have to take out another levy to actually take care of the issue in the city. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Downer, what style of elected leadership do you feel the city needs right now?
Well, I think it needs somebody just like me, Sue. So, but seriously, first of all, I'd like to clear up something that somebody might have a misconception. The city balances its budget at the end of every year, so we're good there. Honestly, you need to listen to people. You need to plan. You need to follow your plans as much as you can, although it often comes down to a private party with money coming in with a proposal, and you go from there. You need to be well informed on issues large and small. You need to collaborate not only with people and organizations in the city, but in the county and elsewhere. We have been discussing a fire training facility, a tower that firefighters can train in. And, I don't know why we couldn't partner with other cities and the county and build something that everybody could use and share the costs that way. We just need to look at that sort of thing. Ultimately, you need to reach a consensus on issues and move forward. And anybody who can do all that and bring people together, explain things, why things need to be done or why it makes sense. I think that's what we need.
Thank you. Mr. Colkine, what style of elected leadership do you feel the city needs right now?
I think the city needs someone that has the ability to see or experience all things from every angle, whether it be getting info and input more from advisory boards or more input from the residents, and even that elected leader actually getting out and going and checking whatever the need is for themselves. Hitting the street, going and experiencing it, and getting a feel for exactly how things should be decided or what decisions should best be made.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. O'Rourke, what style of elected leadership do you feel the city needs right now?
We need an empathetic and transparent leadership right now. We need to listen here both with the people. The people they're a little disgruntled and a little unsatisfied with the local government right now. And they're also a little disgruntled with each other right now. We need to listen to them. We need to listen to advisory boards. We need to listen to experts. But we need to mend a lot of those injuries. We need to be more transparent, get the people more involved, talk to them more about what's going on with the city. And we need to get the people working with each other more. And we need to make ourselves a community again and not so butting heads with these very uncertain times and this very strange times. We need to get people. We need to become a community again. We need to love each other, and we need to get everything back together. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, you guys have all been so succinct. We get to go to question number 4, the final question. Aren't you lucky? And we're going to start with Ms. Vars on this one. What are your top 3 priorities for small business if you are elected?
Well, I would have to say probably community engagement. I want to get more people involved in our community to go and participate. I think housing is a big, the lack of affordable housing is a big problem right now. I think the opening of Havenwood and the construction of Aloe Apartments downtown will bring new residents, new customers for our local businesses, and new supporters of our cultural recreational activities. With more people now able to skip the commute and work from home, which is a trend expected to continue and expand, we will likely see an increased demand for housing that is affordable and accessible. Also, economic development obviously is a big proponent. Our vitality depends on a stable base of tax support. So the city presents city governments with dual challenges of helping our existing businesses to survive and prosper, and also pursuing new business investments that will create secure, good paying jobs and will bolster the city's resources.
Thank you. Ms. Kiddock, what are your top 3 priorities for small business if you were elected?
Well, actually, I have said in the past, what would help the small businesses is to have a new community center to come into town. Yes, also I do agree with Ann in that we do need more affordable housing. I know with the Wright County Center, in that when they do move out by Highway 25 there, they are talking about plans within 5 years to have a community center and also housing in that. They're not talking at this time affordable housing. I would like to see another building of low income housing. That would probably alleviate some of the what Nick was saying, that there is disagreements in that. I am aware of that because I do live in a housing area by Walmart here. So there is low income housing. I live in an apartment building, so I am aware of what actually is going on. So to help, another thing to help the business, I think to help the kids in the neighborhood is to have a youth center. I did talk about that too. And we also need a theater. The downtown theater in that is closed. And there isn't any agreement on anything right now when the owner is going to open it or if he is going to open it. I do believe that possibly if we can't have, a sit-down theater, how about a drive-in theater? Because I have we did have a drive-in theater, movie theater at the Buffalo Legion. I'm not sure exactly how big of a success it was, but I would like to see actually that permanently a drive-in theater. I had a lot of good times at a drive-in theater. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Downer, what are your top 3 priorities for small businesses if you are elected?
Well, I'm not sure my top 3 priorities would really matter that much. It's really what their priorities would be. I assume they're going to want taxes that are low, as low as they could be. I would, first of all, work with the chamber that is in touch with businesses and help them support our local businesses. And I would urge everybody in town to shop locally to the extent you can. I know that ordering things online is the way the world seems to be going, but the tax implications of that for local government are staggering. So, please get out of the house and go out on the highway or downtown and buy something there. beyond that, it's the things that cities do. Clean, safe streets, infrastructure, streets and roads that people can get around in and not have traffic jams and have a place to park, and, street lights at night. And the city does have or the HRA does have a micro loan program that has helped small businesses get started and grow, and that's been quite successful. So obviously we keep that going, but really I like all this stuff, you need to hear from the businesses and hear from them what they need. And if it's something the city can do, then, we see how we can make it work.
Thank you. Mr. Colkind, what are your top 3 priorities for small business if you are elected?
I got a few. I got to repeat Mr. Downer on one, but first and foremost would be ease of entry for new businesses. And also for existing businesses that have not looked into it or acted on it yet, check and see if they're eligible for the CARES Act money that's currently available for the town. Another thing would be just when they start, or if they are a business here, just have a sense of being as part of the community. I know Steve mentioned you with the chamber. I think the last, year and a half, 2 years, the chamber has done a great job on Twitter and Facebook as far as being a lot more active and seeing active members of the chamber around town, highlighting businesses, gaining followers, support, advertising those businesses. And just like Mr. Downer said again, I believe it's the city's duty to provide a clean, modern city, welcoming atmosphere for businesses. This atmosphere that you provide draws people to certain areas of your town, which in turn draws businesses to your town.
Thank you. Mr. O'Rourke, what are your top 3 priorities for small business if elected?
Well, with the courthouse leaving downtown, we're losing some jobs, people that were spending money downtown. We need to get more people back downtown, whether we increase our art, our culture, recreational activities, lure people from outside of town to come visit, or we bring in new residents with, like I said earlier, the best education in the area, get people to move here. And when people move here, they're going to spend money here, they're going to bring business here. And also the lowest taxes possible for these small businesses. I think that's really important. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wakefield, what are your top 3 priorities for small business if elected?
I think one of the biggest challenges we have with small business, bringing them into Buffalo too, is location. We do not have the advantage of a Monticello or a Rogers where you're right on the freeway. So you have to weigh what you can offer businesses to move here to offset being just off one of the main thoroughfares. Obviously, we have trunk highways with 55 and importantly 25 running up to the freeway. So working with the chamber to highlight what Buffalo can offer to businesses when they come here, doing some benchmark work, which I'm sure has been done as to the costs of moving here, doing business, the taxes, the utilities, that type of thing. We do have to be able to compete and offset some of that disadvantage. For the downtown area, I think one of the great opportunities we have, and Mr. O'Rourke mentioned it, is that the county offices are moving, and we're really looking at making the downtown a residential community unto itself, and foot traffic drives business. And I think that's what that really needs downtown. And I think the third thing too is promotion. Over the last few years, and I've got a few on my Facebook page for my campaign where we've highlighted places around, highlighted the downtown occasional shops, Mill Creek, and other areas, and people are going, that looks like an interesting place to visit. And that's the other piece for small businesses here in Buffalo, is to bring people from outside in to discover it, spend time here, go to the restaurants, go to the shops, but it's all about marketing.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Patrick, what are your top 3 priorities for small business if you are elected?
So the first one would be to look at how Buffalo can leverage what resources we currently have within our government and within our community, such as the Chamber of Commerce, to really drive people within and without the area into our small businesses and to really all of our businesses. It's also of really critical importance that the concerns of local businesses are addressed. The transparency and communication are really critical aspects of good governance. And if a business doesn't feel like its concerns are being paid attention to or addressed, I mean, that would be a reason that would drive a business to decide that it's time to leave. The second thing would be to look at how to keep utility costs low. Lower costs mean lower overhead, which means that businesses can invest in themselves and grow. And then third, decide if we can invest in municipal fiber or in other utilities. The internet is showing itself to be an absolutely critical piece of infrastructure, but I'd only really look at doing this if we have ourselves a solid plan to get back in the black, and really only once we truly get back in the black and can determine that it would be a revenue earner or at least a net positive for the city overall.
Thank you. Well, that concludes our forum. I want to encourage our residents who are watching to seek these people out if they have questions or concerns, to find them in our community, look them up on our city website, and to certainly come out and vote on November 3rd. So thank you all for being here tonight, and I look forward to getting to know you better.